We're out here at the Savannah River site, which is a Department of Energy facility that was purchased in 1951 by the Atomic Energy Commission. 310 square miles were purchased, 3 counties. We're in the Aiken County portion right now. And part of our mission at Savannah River Archaeological Research Program is to comply with federal law to protect cultural resources. The Forest Service is they log this whole area, and this area is slated to be logged and clear cut, and we want to protect any historic old homes that were out here. And this area has a chimney. It's got bottles scattered around, diagnostic things like this apothecary bottle that we can date based on the shape of it and the markings on the bottom. And we'll come out here and we'll do some shovel tests on the grid, and we'll try to learn more about the family, Jim and Sally Scott, that lived here in the 1940s, 1930s, and we'll try to learn more about them based on the artifacts they left behind.
So since we completed the log deck survey in the area where we were working when we found this particular historic site and this bottle, we've done a little bit of research to learn about the family. So we're going to wash the bottle and get it ready for analysis and the next step. But in the meantime, as far as the family goes, we know that they bought the property in 1941. It was Deacon Jimmy Scott and his wife Sally. They had a large family, and one of their sons was also a deacon. His name was Jimmy as well. And when they bought the land out there in 1941, it had a house and a bunch of outbuildings, a garage, some stables and chicken buildings and stuff that's pretty typical for what you'd see in a farmstead out here. And then they sold the property in 1951, so they were only there about 10 years. And this bottle, we know, was at least in the ground for about 70 years, if not more than that. So while this particular pharmaceutical bottle is, not the most provocative artifact in itself, it's a small piece of the larger puzzle that we want to understand the families that lived out here, the property interactions, and just the large scale, human experience for the people that lived in this area throughout the history of land ownership prior to this site, coming in and purchasing the property. So this wonderful little bottle will go on to the next phase of drying and then being analyzed and hopefully dated, and then perhaps even isolate what type of pharmaceutical was inside. So after the bottle's washed, what we typically do is put it on a drying rack with its provenience card. That way we always know where a particular artifact came in time and space. And it can be looked at with the other artifacts that came from that site. And then it's going to dry and then go over to analysis.
According to the Society for Historical Archaeology, hundreds of thousands of different bottles were made between the 18th century and the early 1950s. So what's in a bottle? Archaeologists examine the characteristics of a bottle to try to determine what type of bottle it is and where, when, and how the bottle was made. The embossing on the base of this bottle indicates that it is a molded bottle rather than having been free-blown, dip molded, or made from a turn mold. It also has a side mold seam that extends through the lip to the top of the bottle. The bottle has a highly diagnostic horizontal mold seam that circles the neck. Bottles with these diagnostic seams were made by either semi-automatic or fully automatic bottle machines and almost always date after 1910. During the molding process, if air and steam do not leave the mold area ahead of the molten glass, pressure builds up and glass may not reach all parts of the mold. To ensure perfect conformity of the glass, small holes were drilled in the mold to allow this pressure to escape. These holes resulted in vent marks or small embossed dots on the surface of the glass. This bottle exhibits vent marks on the shoulders, 3 on each side. Vent marks usually date from the last third of the 19th century to the 1920s. This bottle has a cork-style finish, meaning that it had a cork closure. Since it has a cork-style finish, we know that it is not a soda, beer, wine, champagne, or liquor bottle. Cork closure, machine-made medicinal, food, ink, and some non-alcoholic beverage bottles usually date prior to the early 1930s. Since cork is not usually used as a stopper for tableware items, this lends more evidence toward the bottle having a medicinal purpose. The color of the bottle can also help us determine age. This bottle has a light aqua hue, which most likely dates from or prior to the 1920s. There are no bubbles in the glass, which indicates that it likely dates during or after the mid-1930s. The capacity of this bottle is stamped on the bottom, indicating that it held 2 fluid ounces. The mandate to mark bottles with the weight and capacity did not go into effect until 1914. We have not been able to identify the stamp on the top line of the base, so given what we know about the bottle so far, it was most likely made sometime between the latter part of 1914 to the early 1930s, and it's most likely a pharmaceutical or household bottle. Now that the bottle has been analyzed, we can add its attributes to our searchable artifact database. All of the information is typed into the form, and once completed, the bottle is then transferred to our curation facility for storage.
The SRARP has been here on the Savannah River site for over 40 years, and in that time has discovered and excavated nearly 2.5 million artifacts. Those artifacts are kept here at our temperature and humidity controlled curation facility. Today, the small bottle and other artifacts excavated several months ago by the archaeological field crew have arrived for their final processing. I have written a new field tag and will place the new field tag, bottle, and the original field tag in archival plastic bags, and those items will then be placed in an archival acid-free box. The box will be placed in the Aiken County section at the curation facility, where it may be used in the future by researchers or for public outreach.
The SRARP, along with its compliance and research duties, also participates in public outreach and education. Throughout each fiscal year, the SRARP disseminates information to the public through local presentations, presenting papers at conferences, speaking at school and civic events, producing local history films, and maintaining a strong presence on social media. Today I am looking for a few artifacts to share with some students at an upcoming event. The recently discovered bottle does a great job of illustrating early 20th century home life and the types of artifacts we would find at those archaeological sites. Being able to discuss with students this early history and present a visual makes the story more vivid. Sharing artifacts like this small bottle and the many other artifacts in our vast collection enhances the importance of archaeology.